What is going on, guys? It is Fortis here. Okay, in today's video, we're talking about PvP strategy in Star Trek Fleet Command. What is Star Trek Fleet Command? Well, it's a 4X mobile strategy game for iOS and Android for Star Trek fans. Okay, let's go into this video. Now, this video covers the conflict between the LOC Alliance and a Borg and Ramu operation on Server 8. So, the key thing to remember here is that this fight is over resources, namely Tritanium, a source used to repair and upgrade ships. This is not about any personal spats. Okay, so here we have, of course, the LOC Alliance versus Borg and Ramu, okay? So they are clearly working together, Borg and Ramu, to kind of scoop up the resources with quite an interesting strategy, I have to say. You know, we have some big in-game spenders present, including the second highest spender on Server 8, Victorious, Vic. So the question remains, how can anyone on the server defend themselves against a top spender? Well, the answer is you can't. It's actually near impossible to do so. You know, you could really use up all your Tritanium reserves in this fight, trying to kind of defend and attack, you know, without a lot of damage being done. So this is something that we are seeing across all servers, you know, namely EU, US, and of course APAC. But do not fret, because we have a bunch of strategies which you'll be able to use in this video. Okay, so strategy number one. You will ideally want to fill up all of the systems nearby with bases. As you can see here, this is what's been going on. This is for easy access to the battle, and of course the opportunity to respond to any threats quickly. In this particular battle, all three alliances, that's LOC, Borg, and Ramu, are kind of taking advantage of this tactic and really trying to fill up the system here. So let's move on to strategy number two. When facing a bigger opponent, it's important to use the least amount of Tritanium as possible. They can spend, you probably cannot spend. Use small ships to hit and of course distract those bigger ships, while your higher level team members can do what they need to do, such as porting into the system and helping out. Hitting those miners and those bigger ships allows for more time for your team members to arrive. And this is what we see in this battle. We can see Basha going against Vic, you know, bigger players going against bigger players. And this is essentially what is happening here. Okay, so let's move on to strategy number three. Distract, distract, distract. I cannot stress this enough. You know, when you're facing an opponent you cannot beat, it's really important to keep the opponent preoccupied and give people time to port in. You know, this can be done in a number of ways. Using smaller ships can help, but of course involving those bigger players to take on the whales is even greater. You know, we are seeing this constantly, you know, with Basha, with Victorious, with Orca as well. So let's go over some of the details which are happening in this battle. So essentially, LOC is comprised of kind of three main alliances: LOC, Loco, and LOCX. So all of them are pretty much present here, and they're kind of helping out here against some of the biggest players in the game. So they, you know, they're trying to defend, doing all they can, and they're doing a really good job. They're kind of implementing all the strategies which we talked about. Some of the smaller ships are going against some of those bigger stations there, and this is a really good way to distract the enemy. So as you can see here, oh boy, so he's got his jelly out, his black jelly, and he's taking on all of these ships. And you know, at this stage there's not a lot we can do, but yeah, he's attacking my ship now. But as we can see, there's not a lot we can do in this circumstance. But the key thing is here is to distract, distract, distract away from any of the potential Tritanium resources which are available to all players here. So this is kind of the strategies which we are kind of implementing here. And it's working relatively well, I have to say. It's working relatively well because it's given our players time to port in and to kind of take control of the situation as much as possible. So some of these smaller players are attacking the bigger stations, and then we have some of our bigger players taking on Vic, the heavy spender in Server 8. So this is essentially what is happening, and doing relatively well. But you know, this is a marathon of a match. There's a long way to go here, and you know, there's a huge amount of resources available. But all we can do really is distract and wait. You know, namely, you don't have alliances really joining forces too much. But in this instance, we have Borg and Romy, which have teamed up against LOC. So this is essentially what is happening. Two of the biggest alliances on Server 8 going against LOC. It's relatively hard to kind of take on some of the bigger alliances, but this is what we see happening. And don't forget, some of the power of these ships are massive. We're seeing, you know, 8 million power ships, 6 million power ships coming here. So this is essentially, it's really hard to kind of defend against these types of ships, but it's so hard. But by implementing the kind of 3 strategy rule, you can kind of get something going, and this can actually involve other alliances too. So taking a step back for a minute, so if this battle wasn't happening, you could take another alliance, another friendly alliance, and they could kind of help you out with the smaller ships too. So don't forget about that. So you can essentially get other smaller alliances to help out. And I think this is what Pain is going to do in this instance. So the Pain alliance is actually going to help out a little bit too. But it is an impossible situation, and it's so hard to do, to kind of, there's the miner go in there. So all of these 3 strategies are clearly working, but there's still a long way to go in terms of perfecting these strategies. So that is it for now, guys. Of course, don't forget to, like and subscribe to my future videos. And if you have any PvP strategies for Star Trek Fleet Command, please drop me a line. Please comment on the video. I would love to know your strategies on your server. All right, that's it for now, guys. Stay safe out there. See ya.